problems.
It's 8:38. The long simmering dispute between Apple and the FBI over demands to unlock the San Bernardino terrorist iPhone has now come to a head. Here today with what the laws say and what this all means for you is Shari Owen, especially everyone who has an iPhone. Shari,
Which is
thank you
a
for
lot
joining
of
us.
us.
Exactly, a lot of us. Let's quickly talk about what exactly is going on between Apple and the FBI.
Sure. So a few years back, Apple came out with new encryption and passcode protection software, which essentially wipes the phone after a couple of unsuccessful tries. The government has Farouk's phone. They've asked Apple for help getting some of the information that's on it. Last week, a judge issued an order saying Apple has to help them. Apple has until Friday to respond. Apple's position is we're protecting our customers' privacy and data security. Government's position is we're protecting public safety and national security. What's interesting here, though, John, is this phone was owned by the company, the county that the guy worked for. They've said, go ahead and unlock it. We had policies. He knew it wasn't private. The guy's dead, and privacy rules don't apply to dead people. And Apple and the government have worked together on many cases like this in the past. So Apple is making this case more about the precedent it's going to set, because they lose the case itself.
Apple
the
is saying not so fast.
Right. The government is making it about this particular case, which was an act of terrorism, because they know they're going to get more public sympathy than with drug cases or white-collar crime.
All right. This is a very interesting thing. So what are the laws that currently apply to the FBI's right to investigate, and then, by the same token, our right to keep them out of our private emails, our texts, and some other information?
Right. So the government's been relying on a 200-year-old law called the All Writs Act, which basically says that a third party has to help with an investigation as long as it's not too burdensome. Apple has a long history of privacy rules in its favor, including Article 4 and 5 of the Constitution and the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, which basically says that there are different levels of expectation of privacy for your communications and different procedures that the government has to go to get to them. But even that law is 30 years old, so it's really outdated when it comes to this type of situation.
Yeah, I'm sure Apple just doesn't want to open up a whole can of worms there and protect themselves. Okay, so that leads me to my next question. What might this mean for the rest of us, all of us who have an Apple phone?
Well, for sure, Congress is going to get involved in updating the laws. The Supreme Court will get involved in applying them. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Congress, legislators trying to actually legislate the technologies itself, just like they do other tools of terrorism like weapons. We're going to see companies, John, that issue phones to their employers. So any of us who have an employer phone, companies are going to crack down on their own rules and revisit them in light of all of this. And from our standpoint, it makes sense now for us to start thinking about our own privacy and the way we use our smartphones. For years, we're just relying on the companies to protect our privacy. But the truth is, do we really need to be walking around with our whole life on a phone? Do we need our bank accounts and our credit card numbers and everything with us all the time? Can we be putting those things, syncing some of those things to our desktop and some of those things to our phone? So it'll be interesting. I compare this to the security detectors at the airports. After 9/11, those went in place. We all have to go through them. It's an inconvenience. It impacts our privacy. This is something similar. So we will all be impacted by this.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, it is. So stay tuned to see what happens with this particular case. Shari, thank you so much for being with us today. Let's go over to Felicia and check out what that forecast holds.